sea between others and me. With them would shelter be.
Jack Dowling, Transvaal Fishing.
2 bodies in 2 days.
It's a great story. It's got lots of new things, but it has that classical psychological thriller vibe about it.
It's quite dark, and it deals with issues that really made me think.
The talent that has been brought together to produce this at such a high level is something to be admired and to aspire to.
When I read the script, I thought that the subject of dementia and Alzheimer's is not often handled so delicately. And this film goes in a direction that you wouldn't necessarily think.
It's a thriller, yes, but it talks about very strong issues.
There's lots of twists and turns, and I think it's going to be a really good project.
Don't wait for sound.
Please, everyone quiet by the monitor.
1, 3, 4, take 1.
The thing that interested me about the script was the fact that it was a merging of a detective thriller and a drama. It's got all that pace and intrigue and atmosphere, but it also has that kind of heavy drama element with sort of themes like grief, which I think makes it something a little bit more unusual from your sort of general thriller.
I jumped on board because I like the team and the passion they had for the project. And I think, we're dealing with a very interesting and important topic that was quite important for me to sort of, make an important film that has a real message.
I got involved with the movie because I was approached by Matt Hawkins. Matt is somebody I've worked with. Dom and I have worked together as well. So it was very much a family unit. And because of that, it was a real pleasure to shoot. I cast it as well. So we've got Alan Ford, Hannah Waddingham, who I've worked with before. There's obviously, she's done big things like Game of Thrones.
I got involved in the project because Michael McKell, I think, spoke to the director, Dom Lenoir, and said that he thought that when he read the script, he thought that I would be the best person to go to for this woman because she has a stillness about her, which I suppose is a compliment. But I was interested in playing her because it's not the stereotypical kind of role for a woman. It'll make you think.
So I played Detective Ryan Barnes. He's quite mellow at the start, but then he experiences a bit of trauma early on. His wife gets into a car accident. Then there's a sudden change and his arc kind of goes up and down throughout the film. He's on a case chasing a killer. So there's quite a lot of demons that emerge throughout the film.
The character I play is a detective. He's an older detective who is nurturing and taking care of a younger detective in a father-son kind of relationship. But the younger detective is dealing with grief. I encourage him to use the work to lose himself and just to deal with that situation.
And Harris was originally trained as a police officer, and then he trained as a detective. So then he managed to get a post in Black Rock. So he's new to the town. It's a good opportunity. It's the first time he's had a chance to do proper detective work. So he's quite keen and enthusiastic, and sometimes he steps on people's toes, even though he doesn't mean to. He means well.
The thing that interests me about this story, I don't know, I saw similarities in the character in terms of the drive. I really thought I could bring something that added another element or dimension that maybe wasn't in the script. I think the team on board as well. And just the idea of doing something a little bit different in a sort of isolated location on a very tight shoot, very challenging.
I played Jessica, who is one of the nurses that is looking after Barnes's wife while she's in the hospital in a coma. It was quite interesting for me to play a character who really puts other people ahead of herself. Most of my scenes take place in Sarah's hospital room. The interactions are mainly between myself and Barnes, and it's quite an intimate environment. It feels like a very safe place to work as an actor.
So I didn't have a massive amount of time to prepare, because obviously I was helping with the production and the producing side as well. But what I did delve into a lot of murder mystery documentaries, and every night I'd finish very late. About 10 o'clock I'd go home and sort of watch a a documentary that was a true story on a murder case or something, just to kind of keep my brain into that gear. They don't really rest. They just work constantly on a case until they're almost brain dead. So Prisoners was a great reference. Insomnia was a great reference. Even Manchester by the Sea was a good reference. Casey Affleck, because there was a lot of internal emotions that he brought to that film, which weren't over the top or kind of drived into the audience. You could just feel it within him. So those kind of films, those kind of characters were very inspiring.
So in terms of research for my character, I spoke to a real detective, a retired detective, and he was telling me a little bit about some of the traits that a detective might have. So the ability to read people and to have empathy, and he also talked about reading body language. I also know a police officer who's trained in firearms training, and he gave me some tips about how to approach a hostage situation or moving into an area where there might be a hostile. So I think we've all been trying to work really hard to find that authenticity, to make it a proper detective film.
And when I was preparing for the role, I actually met with a friend of mine who is a nurse, and I got to understand what she does on a day-to-day and how she feels, because you sort of forget, I think, that you just expect them to look after you and you expect them to be kind to you, and the reality is everyone has a bad day. Everybody feels everything. Really loved it. I really loved talking to my friend and getting to know how she feels about these issues. Questions that I would never have thought to ask her. How do you feel about someone that you've got to see in the hospital every day and you know that they're suffering a lot because someone they love is suffering? Or how do you deal when a patient dies, For her to share that experience with me was very intimate and a big eye-opener for me.
So we knew that we wanted the film to be, not to be, but to feel monochromatic. So the film obviously was in color, but the tones need to be pastels, need to be low contrast. We didn't want any strong colors. So every character is on color, because we wanted that the audience felt the presence of the characters through something else than just the image. And so very early on we had a chat with production design, with wardrobe, with makeup, to make sure that everything fell into that palette. It's not obvious, it's very subtle, but it's there, and sometimes that color will appear in the scene that will hint to a character that is not there.
There was definitely certain colors that we used in the film, and it was actually Dom's idea that he wanted to have red as Sarah's color. So we have red details in Barnes's house, and then also sometimes when he remembers Sarah, or when we see her, she might have red lipstick on, or just these little hints.
I'm more worried about the story and how to represent the story within the visuals. So I will think about what each character does, where they come from, what they are, and try to portray that in some way in the cinematography, and define a kind of a vibe or world for each character. And this film lended itself to that, because each character is very strong, and some of them have a symbolic meaning.
Camera's rolling.
Wait, 33, take one.
Sure.
Quiet those goats down.
Sound speed.
Should we just move? Let's let this goat go past.
Let the goats reunite, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, that one just walk
We've gone for a very unique, exciting landscape, and it's very much away from the kind of small town beat cop kind of feel that you get in a lot of, TV dramas in England. And we're trying to go for something that's got that kind of very moody detective thriller feel.
We found a really good town, Linton and Lynmouth in Devon, so we had limited location moves. Everything was 5 to 10 minutes drive from each other, which I think was an easy thing for us in terms of production and logistics.
The environment of the movie is like the third character, and it's extreme in its cliff top by the sea, and has an eerie, otherworldly feel to it.
The locals have really helped make it what it is, especially sort of Diana, who's been helping us, who's based in sort of Linton. Who's really sort of pulled together a lot of the local people to help with locations and logistics and basically everything to make the film happen.
Some of the people that they've got working in front of camera and behind the camera are phenomenal. It's incredible, the team that they pulled together.
I've known Matt and some of the cast and crew for quite some time, and working with them is always very fun. You're working 14, 16 hours, and if people don't feel happy, it gets really, really difficult. And Matt and the cast usually are kind of playing around, and it's fun to be around, so it makes our lives easier.
The whole shoot's been like really good fun because it's a lot of crew that we know very well, some really great people, so it's been enjoyable, but it's also been very hard work.
I found working with the lead actor Matt and the director Dom a great experience. I'm not sure how we got anything done because there was a lot of giggling that went on and joking between takes, but it was a very friendly environment and I enjoyed it very much.
I think we were really lucky. I think we had really a top quality crew on this film. We had an amazing director, DOP, production designer. Everyone was really, really motivated and passionate about the project. And because we were all shooting in the same village, it kind of became a bit like a little family.
I think there's loads of funny stories. Some we can talk about, some we can't really talk about. There was a doll that was found on one of the art department trucks, and that doll ended up in all sorts of strange places, in all sorts of strange positions. So you will receive a photo from on your phone in the middle of something, and like, what is that? It was the weirdest thing ever.
The crew and production was amazing for an indie film. Very professional, but also very friendly, very open-minded. Everybody from the runners to the director to the production were just brilliant.
So one of the most challenging things for this film has been working around the schedule, because we're shooting a very ambitious film with a lot of locations quite far out from London, with a lot of action and stunt sequences with some really great cast, and trying to fit that in on a low budget sort of independent film, and still getting everything done.
The crazy thing for me was that we started shooting on Easter Monday. All the props houses are closed on all of Easter weekend, and we're filming in Devon where there's no shops. We had no prep in Devon. I arrived on Sunday evening with the crew to Devon, and we started shooting on Monday morning. But obviously I had Ollie and Jess working with me, and Ollie was always the standby art director, so he was on set, and then I kept on dressing with Jess. So we were kind of one step ahead.
Actually, one of my most enjoyable scenes, as well as being difficult, was the hospital stuff. We had a bit of a mess up with the location, which meant that a lot of the hospital stuff had to be done within 1 or 2 days. And for me, that was originally going to be panned over 3, 4, 5 days. So doing that in 1 or 2 days meant that I had to tap into a lot of emotional stages with my character throughout the film. So doing that within an isolated room within 1 or 2 days was quite challenging, but obviously quite enjoyable as well.
The crew was shooting in Linton, and I was dressing in Ninmouth, which is the little village under the hill. We couldn't communicate, so the only way to get in touch with me was calling to this old woman's landline. And then when you don't have Wi-Fi or 4G or phone signal, and something doesn't go according to plan, what are you gonna do? And obviously this was when the police car broke down, and it was just trying to sort out that problem, how we're gonna get another police car was just a bit crazy. But we got it in the end, so it was all good.
I've really enjoyed working on this because there's always a presumption with low budget films that the finances are so low that the values go, but I don't think that's the case on this. And I think if you're all in it for the right reasons, then you're going to produce good work together, and I have a lot of time for the other actors on the job.
We have to do a lot more with a lot less resources and in a short amount of time. I think it's difficult for independent filmmakers to make a living and shoot high quality films.
Independent movie making has become accessible because of the the technology that's available. And there are now outlets. You can work without the big labels in music and without the big studios in movies. And it allows another voice. And so independent movies create that platform. That's why it's important as actors to support it.